Hey, what's up, people? Piz out here, and my month-long October Halloween-A-thon continues with my review of Rob Zombie's Halloween. And as many of you know, or should know, who've been following my channel for any period of time, I have very strong feelings about Rob Zombie's Halloween. I've called it the most depressing movie-going experience of my life, and I stand by that. I stand by that. But let me start with, let's go all the way back to 2003, to the release of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake, which was a huge hit, and that just opened the remake floodgates. Now, it was only a matter of time before all the other marquee horror franchises got their remake, and I sat in dreaded anticipation for the announcement that Halloween was going to be remade. And it finally happened. That announcement was made, but there was a ray of sunlight in that announcement, because it was also announced that Rob Zombie was going to write and direct the Halloween remake. I thought, perfect, great. If it's going to happen, this movie is going to be raped and pillaged and plundered just like all the other classic films with these awful remakes. But if it's going to happen, let Rob Zombie do it. At that point, Rob Zombie had directed House of a Thousand Corpses and The Devil's Rejects, both films that I liked a lot. I was a fan of his music. I was a fan of his art. I just considered Rob Zombie at this point just a great artist. All around great artist. So I was very excited to see his interpretation of John Carpenter's Halloween. So I go to the movie theater when it first comes out. I sit down, I'm pumped, I'm ready. Darkness falls, the movie begins, and I am treated to, it was one of those instances where slowly but surely it dawned on me as the film progressed that this is bad. This is really bad. Maybe it'll get better. That was my only hope. Maybe it'll get better. But it doesn't. It only gets worse and worse and worse. It's one of those films that just slowly breaks you down and destroys your expectations. And it's just that sort of depressing feeling that you're watching a bad movie that's just not going to get any better. And I walked out of the theater and I was just absolutely depressed. I was sad. I was speechless. It took me a day to just kind of rebound from Rob Zombie's Halloween. Which, you know, for this series, for my month-long October Halloween-A-thon, I knew at some point I was going to get to Rob Zombie's Halloween. And it's one of those movies that for me just really has very few redeemable qualities. And it still has that distinction of being the most depressing movie-going experience of my life. So I decided I would sit down and actually re-watch the film. Yes, I decided to re-watch Rob Zombie's Halloween for you guys, to show my dedication to you guys and to my month-long October Halloween-A-thon. I would sit down and re-watch Rob Zombie's Halloween to try and find something to like that I had previously, you know, just not recognized before. And I'd actually seen the film on DVD. I mean, after the theatrical debacle of that, at least for me, when it was released on DVD, I actually won a contest hosted by deadpit.com where I won the big 3-disc DVD version of Rob Zombie's Halloween. And I was like, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to rewatch this, because there's no way, my memories of it, the stigma, there's just a stigma. Whenever I would think of Rob Zombie's Halloween, I would literally just feel drained. I would just feel like, you know, awful. Awful. And I thought, you know, surely it cannot be that bad. And I rewatched it again on DVD, you know, years ago, and yeah, it held up. It was still that bad. Rewatching it again recently, just yesterday on DVD, it holds up. It's still really, really, really bad. at least in my opinion. And to go down the laundry list of all the reasons why I think the film is bad would probably be, this would turn into a Rambo Raff style 45-minute rant just dissecting this movie. But I'm just going to hit on what I think are some of the the bullet points of bad as far as Rob Zombie's Halloween. You know, where he just totally was misguided. And I think first and foremost, the screenplay, the 45-minute sort of the first half of the film. Well, really, the film sort of separated into thirds, I think. The first third of the movie is young Michael Myers, and we see his dysfunctional white trash childhood with his stripper mom, his drunken, foul-mouthed stepfather, his slutty sister. He's picked on at school. He is torturing and killing small animals, also, just on the side. So, I mean, right then and there, we set the table for, oh, this is why, we're explaining why Michael Myers turned into Michael Myers. Here's this big, long explanation. Here's the backstory, and it's just bad as bad can be. Bad as bad can be. I mean, aside from his mother, you know, there's just no love in this household. None whatsoever. And it is as white trash as you could possibly get. And I know Rob Zombie loves white trash. He loves to explore white trash culture, subculture, whatever you want to call it. But it worked in House of a Thousand Corpses. It worked in Devil's Rejects. It does not fit in Halloween. It sticks out like a sore thumb. The redneck, the white trash vernacular, the just preponderance of the F word. Every other word is the F word in this part of the script. And you know, very unique, witty variations of the F word. I'm sure Rob Zombie wrote some of this stuff and then just leaned back in his chair and he was like, yeah, that's some good stuff right there. Really, really unnecessary, unneeded, just bad, poorly written, poorly acted, poorly plotted. I mean, even it just feels so draggy. This whole part just feels so draggy, and just poorly. It looks bad. It's poorly shot. I mean, just on every level of filmmaking. It's bad. It's bad. Then we move to Michael Myers in Smith's Grove Sanitarium. Still young Michael Myers. He's getting his counseling sessions from Dr. Loomis, played by Malcolm McDowell in the film. He's getting his visitations with his mother. He's slowly further descending into madness. He's fascinated with masks. He makes masks to hide his face under, to hide his ugliness. And again, just sort of, yeah, actually this part of this third of the movie is actually probably the best as far as from just a filmmaking standpoint, a writing standpoint, an acting standpoint, all around. The fellow that plays young Michael Myers, oh my gosh, what was his name? I can't believe I forgot his name. Strong acting in this part of the film. Malcolm McDowell, strong acting in this part of the film. Sherry Moon Zombie as Michael Myers' mother, strong acting in this part of the film. We do, you know, that sense of Michael Myers, the boy, turning into Michael Myers, the man, the shape, you know, the force of evil. You can feel that in this part of the film. And this is by far, I think, the best part of the film, because as we sort of go from childhood to 15 years later, and Michael Myers is now a 6'7", 300-pound gargantuan beast, monster, totally imposing monster. You know, we have a lot more of, you know, we've got the guards, or whatever you want to call them, the people who are working inside Smith's Grove Sanitarium, just really awful people, awful dialogue, ridiculously just F word, F word, F word, F word. Michael, of course, breaks out. Michael goes to Haddonfield, and he's after his sister, Laurie Strode, of course. And we're introduced to Laurie Strode, played by Scout Taylor Compton, and her friends, Annie, played by Danielle Harris, of course, from Halloween 4 and 5. Forget the other actress's name, forgive me. But then we actually get into kind of Rob Zombie's re-envisioning of John Carpenter's Halloween, of the Halloween that we all know and love. And here we just see all of Rob Zombie's shortcomings as a filmmaker just blaring right in your face when he's trying to emulate John Carpenter. It's night and day. It's night and day. And this part of the film, this final third of the film, is, in my, just god-awful. Absolutely god-awful. The last 15 minutes of the film, the dialogue totally drops out. It's Michael chasing Laurie through the ceiling, through the walls. Laurie screaming constantly. The movie ends with her coated in blood, screaming at the top of her lungs. And it's jarring, it's unsettling, and it's just bad. It's just bad all the way around. It's bad. Poorly written, poorly acted, poorly directed. It looks bad. The cinematography's awful. Everything about the movie is just bad. Bad, bad, bad. I firmly believe if this was just a random slasher movie that wasn't directed by Rob Zombie, just directed by Joe Blow, maybe not even straight to DVD. It'd be like a straight to Sci-Fi Channel slasher movie. I mean, to be perfectly honest with you. On paper, Malcolm McDowell as Dr. Loomis sounds like a good idea, but Dr. Loomis is one of the most beloved characters in horror history. And Rob Zombie, who claims to be a horror movie fan and a Halloween fan, wrote him very, very flat and directed Malcolm McDowell very, very flat. He made Dr. Loomis out, really, in the last act of the film, to be an asshole. Just to be a jerk. He's somebody who's exploited Michael Myers for financial gain. Why? Why do that? Dr. Loomis is beloved in the horror genre. Why would you turn him into an ass? I will say this for the film. I liked Scout Taylor Compton as Laurie Strode. I thought she had this cute girl next door quality that just played well as Laurie Strode. I liked that. That was some good casting on his part. I liked Danielle Harris. I mean, I think that kind of showed, yes, he's aware of Danielle Harris's, past in the Halloween franchise. So he brought her over into this film. I enjoyed that. I liked her performance. Aside from that, as far as acting is concerned, really bad all around. I mean, it's that typical cast of Rob Zombie regulars. I mean, you've got Ken Foray in there, you've got Dee Wallace in there, you've got Lou Temple is in there. Oh gosh, several names are just escaping me, but it's his usual cachet of actors, and they're just not good in this film. They're actors that have been good in other stuff. They're just not particularly good in this. It's almost as if Rob Zombie, who, like I said, claims to be a horror fan, claims to be a Halloween fan, had never seen the original Halloween, had no idea about the original Halloween. It's like he'd seen, I don't know, it's like he'd read something about the movie, or even the second one, because it follows the, Laurie is Michael's sister thing that, really began in Halloween 2 and went all the way through to, all the way through to H2O, really. It's a baffling film. It's a baffling film to watch, just how bad I think it is. And I think it also sort of revealed Rob Zombie to be kind of a douche, because there were a lot of interviews on the set of Halloween, of his Halloween, I should say, where he did nothing but bash John Carpenter's Halloween. And looking back at those interviews, even though they were puzzling at the time, I can see kind of why, because I think even he realized he was making a bad movie. So how do you make your bad movie look better? That you're trying to emulate. You're trying to emulate a movie that's so much better than yours. Yet you recognize your attempt is really bad. You try and break down the movie you're trying to emulate to make it seem worse. Every interview was, oh yeah, I didn't like that part of Halloween. It didn't make sense to me. I never really got that. Michael Myers driving a car, that bothered me. I never really got that. Dr. Loomis, I never got that. I didn't like Dr. Loomis. He's too crazy. His performance was, Donald Pleasence's performance was over the top. I never got this. I never got that. I didn't like this. I didn't like that. Well, then why do the remake? If you didn't like the original Halloween, why do the remake? You've always said that you did like the original Halloween. You've always claimed to be a horror fan. Why are you attacking the original and trying to break it down on the set of your remake of it? Looking back on that now, I can totally see why, because he was trying to, throw dirt on the original one to make it look as bad as his remake. I could just go on and on and on about this movie. There's just so many things wrong with it. There's just so many things really bad about it. It also sort of created this schism where at this point horror fans and Rob Zombie fans were kind of on the same page as far as his filmmaking was concerned. And this Rob Zombie's Halloween the road sort of forked at that point. You've got horror fans and you've got Rob Zombie fans. Rob Zombie fans are going to like anything Rob Zombie does. He takes a crap in a box and hands it to you. You're going to love it. Horror fans who are watching a bad movie directed by Rob Zombie are going to say it's a bad movie directed by Rob Zombie. So I think that's where that fork in the road went. You've got Rob Zombie fans who love everything Rob Zombie does. And those are the people who defend and love and worship this movie and say it's better than the original. And they say, oh, it's so dark, and oh, it's so violent and so bloody and so brutal. Good. If that's all you want in a movie is some blood, brutal, then Rob Zombie's Halloween is right up your alley, If you actually like a horror film for, it being well made, well acted, well written, then definitely this Rob Zombie's Halloween is not for you. There is one thing interesting about Rob Zombie's Halloween, and I mentioned winning the big 3-disc DVD of it many years ago. On the third disc, there is a 4.5-hour documentary about the making of Rob Zombie's Halloween, and I actually watched that. All of it. And it's kind of interesting to see, in the beginning of really post-productions, it follows him literally through, he's signed the contract to do it, he's got the screenplay finished, he's casting the film, he's location scouting, all the way to the end. It's interesting because in the beginning, he was excited and full of energy, and we're doing this, and blah, blah, blah. As the movie went along, as the movie progressed, you can see his energy lowering, his excitement dropping. And then there's also, at the very end of the film, they show the reshoots. And I was very surprised that they included the reshoots part of this documentary, because Rob Zombie is clearly not happy being forced to do reshoots of this film. He felt they were unnecessary. He clearly did not care. He was talking badly about Dimension Films, who released the film and released the DVD on this documentary. You just tell his heart was not in it at that point. He didn't care. He was shooting things, admittedly, that he knew weren't good, but he was shooting them to get them done. And it's an interesting journey to see, like I said, excitement, dwindling, lowering, to just being like, let's shoot it, let's get it done, let's get out of here. And I think that's kind of Rob Zombie's Halloween in a nutshell. Excitement turned to just complete depression. And the movie stands up. I watched it again. I could not find really very many redeemable qualities in it, aside from, I kind of liked the Scout Taylor Compton as Laurie Strode. I enjoyed the fact that he brought Danielle Harris back to be in this film. Aside from that, there's not a lot to like with Rob Zombie's Halloween, particularly if you're a horror movie fan, if you're a Halloween fan, if you're a fan of the original Halloween, if you're just a slasher movie fan in general. This is a bad film. Bad film. So anyway, until next time, when I wrap up my month-long October Halloween-A-thon with Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, which that review may surprise you, considering how much I really dislike Rob Zombie's Halloween. My review of Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 will probably surprise you a little bit. But anyway, until then, you guys take it easy.